every coach likes to motivate his team and maybe use bulletin board material. When you see the video of Bobby Hurley saying, if a visiting team wants to win in the state of Arizona, they better go to Tucson. Do the players use that as motivation? Do you use that as motivation?
I really don't. I didn't see it. A lot of people have told me about it, but Bobby is a great competitor himself, and the challenge as a coach is to get your team motivated, to have your team ready to play, and to run a program. To build a program, and confidence is part of that. There's a lot of different ways to go about instilling that. I don't think he meant that in a derogatory fashion towards our program or things here in Tucson, as much as making sure that that his guys believe in themselves and know that the objective is to be a tough team to play against and to win. And I respect that. I know him, and I know where he's from, know how he's wired, and he's a great competitor. It's what made him such a terrific player. So things like that happen in today's world. The behind the scenes things sometimes can really be misunderstood, and I think this is a classic example of that.
Was that pretty common, do you think, not necessarily you, but among coaches, to kind of say stuff like that in a relatively private environment? Just to get the guys going?
Every coach has a different personality. Every coach has a different team. If you have an experienced team that's been there, done that, you tend to guide that ship that way. If you have a group of guys that are inexperienced, if you're a team that's trying to climb the ladder within the ranks of college basketball or your conference, there's certain things that you want to emphasize, et cetera. So I think each coach is different, each program is different, and once in a while, even in our program, from one year to the next, there's so much change that, the things that worked a year ago or the way you went about your business, it could be completely different 6 months later, 9 months later.
Is this team any differently, played any differently, or reacted to any differently from you now that Herb's gone and Bobby's there?
No, I mean, number one, this is a conference game. If we're getting ready to play UCLA or USC or Oregon, and you play them home and away, let's face it, you have 9 home games. You want to be at your best. You want to try to win as many as you can, and winning on the road is not easy in conference play. Being able to get a road split, as you guys well know, some of the best teams that we have ever had here in the history of our program, went through this conference getting road splits and then home sweeps, and at the end of the conference season, those teams are right there to win the championship. So, I think that's number one. That's what it starts with, and everybody knows that playing Arizona State is big to our fans, to our students, and it has great meaning to both sides. So we know that.
With the LA swing coming up next week, what kind of benefits are there to not having to play on Saturday?
Again, sometimes that really works to your benefit, and other times you almost wish you played a game. We're not there yet. For us, the process of getting ready for Arizona State that's on deck. That's what we have to be ready to do. School is beginning here on Wednesday. There's a lot going on with so many students coming back. For the last couple of weeks, we've had just each other, and our team has done an incredible job of working, being focused both for practice and for games, and I believe we've improved. We've improved pre-Christmas until now, and we have to continue with that improvement. And right now the focus is to be the very best team we can be on Thursday and to play as hard as we possibly can. Our team doesn't have a lot of room for error. We've established that. I think we know that in our locker room. So being able to play hard and be at our best, that's what's required now. And it's up to our coaching staff, it's up to our players to put behind what just happened. Utah and Colorado are over. There's some things that we've learned from those games, good and bad, and now it's about next up, Arizona State, and to be the most ready team we can, and that's our challenge on Thursday night, and we expect a hard-fought game as always.
What's most dangerous about ASU?
ASU is an outstanding three-point shooting team. I'm looking at their style, especially with their guard play. They play with tremendous freedom. They play at a very fast pace. In transition, they thrive because they have multiple three-point shooters on the court at once. And in many cases, those same three-point shooters are also dynamic at getting to the basket. You know, Evans and Holder, in their own respective lights, are terrific players, guards that are older, that have been successful. Statistically, if you look at their history of their college career, both are really, really good players. You know, and they're out there together. And then they have, you know, a number of other guys that can shoot the three. Sometimes they play four guards, which is unique. That's very difficult to defend. And we're going to have to really be ready in transition and being able to guard the three-point shot. As you talk about guarding the three-point shot, you have to be able to guard players off the dribble, because when they get dribble penetration, that leads to some of the best three-point shots that they can get.
Matt said no questions about Trier, but is there a is there a date out there, even if you can't comment on, that you know of, that it would be resolved by? Like a date floating out there?
No.
Well, Back Home Networks did say, though, that you told them that you expect them back at some point. Is that true?
I can't honestly, Bruce. I've said so many things over the last 3 or 4 months. You know, I would just say I hope that Alonzo has an opportunity to play sometime this year. I'll leave it at that. If I knew more, I would say. If I would be able to, I would say. But this is far, far higher up the ladder than me. I'm just a soldier in the Army following orders.
Right. Yeah, it's just the way she paraphrased you sounded like maybe you knew something that was optimistic, at least.
Is that a discussion you have with him daily, though, or weekly, though, just to get an update with him personally?
No, you know, Alonzo, the one thing I can't comment on is he practices with us every day. You know, he's in school. He's doing a great job in school, as always. You know, our practice environment has been really good this year. You know, I knock on wood because it can change quickly, but I hope that continues to the finish line. And if it does, that bodes well. This is a team that loves the game. It stems from a lot of players. Alonzo is one of them. So, you know, Dylan Smith and Alonzo, they practice every time that we practice, and both are quality players, and they make that daily grind a lot more efficient, more highly competitive. And when you watch us practice, I think we're probably a deeper team in practice than we would be in games. But that's good, because we haven't had to you know, try to be creative in how to go full court or figure out how to practice. We've practiced, you know, very steadily from start to finish, and we have to continue that, including this week.
I asked you before, you know, when you were doing the 7-man rotation, you said you kind of let the foot off the gas pedal a little bit in practice. Now, how has that changed then back with Parker back, or has it changed at all when you just?
Well, we've always practiced as hard as we possibly can. We may not have gone as long just because we had a lot of risk for when you play in only 7. If somebody goes down, now you're down to 6, and that's very, very much of a problem. So, you know, now that Parker's back, you know, part of what Parker's banking on is the everyday practice. That allows him to get reps and, you know, shoot the ball and to cut, to run, to simulate a game. And, you know, you probably saw even the speed that he played with the other day. There was a big difference in my mind between him, you know, at the 4-week mark, and you know, this past week was at the 5-week mark. So here on Wednesday, he'll be at the 6th week mark. And when he first got injured, you know, those types of injuries generally are 6 to 8 weeks. He got back sooner. Part of it is that, you know, he's playing basketball, not football. That's more of a football injury. So, but I think Justin and the doctors talked about that he'll continue to grow. He'll continue to be stronger and feel better from week 4 to 6, and that's really what's happened. So, you know, hopefully he can have a great stretch of health, because, as you guys know, he's an important part of our team.
You mentioned the other day that you didn't play Chance or Picano a whole lot, and I'm assuming if you still have this lineup for a while, you want, like, what's an ideal amount of minutes for those guys, and how can they get there?
Well, Chance, if you look at his minutes, I mean, he's close to 20, I believe, on the season. That's a lot. That's half the game. And, you know, Chance has impacted our successes as much as anybody. I mean, if he's played the 4, he's played 5 in the Bay Area. We're very well documented the plays that he made in both games, and his overall game against Stanford really stands out as a big reason we were successful. And he's been there in the New Mexico game, November, December, and he has upside. You know, Chance is far from a finished product. I think as he continues to get stronger, learn, gain experience, game experience, he's going to be an even better player here for us down the stretch. So he's really important. You know, Keanu, I have to do a better job of really locking him into the role that we want him to be, to have. You know, he is exceptional defensively. He has quickness, and he has a size that's different than the rest of our front court players. And at the end of last night's game, game against Colorado, you know, Keanu was in there because he's so mobile. And in this game against ASU, for example, because of the lineup that they play, you could see where Keanu could be called upon to be able to defend and help us against that type of lineup. So, you know, we're only playing 8 players. They play every game, 8, 7, and 6. If they don't start, they're incredibly valuable. You talk about Chance, especially him. And then, you know, our starting group, we need those guys to play well. And we want balance. And on different nights, you hope that different players can step up because, I mean, when you start getting into the games 20 through 30, you've been at it for a while now, and it's not always going to be the same players every night playing well. They're going to have a night where the ball doesn't go in or they get in foul trouble, and on that night, you're depending on your reserves, your depth, and the quality of your team. So everybody's important to us. We've always done it like that, but this year is, God, I almost feel like even more so because, you know, we used to play more 9, sometimes even 10, where this year it's been 7 or 8 from start to finish.
Are the spurts just a product of college basketball, or is there something that can be coached to be more consistent? I mean, a team's down 10-1, huge spurt, and then the other team goes on a roll. Is that just college basketball?
No, that's our team. You know, we have a very youthful team. I mean, we do. I know college basketball is younger. I get that, but I'm only coaching the team that I have, and we just have a lot of players in different roles, a lot. And even Kadeem. You know, Kadeem is our heart and soul. He wasn't our heart and soul last year. 2 years ago, he redshirted. He was just an innocent bystander, you know, just simply trying to do the best he can to figure it out and help us in practice. So he's come a long way in a 2.5-year period of time. Our freshmen, every time they play against a different style, it's the first time. And now that we're in conference play, it takes a few weeks for those guys really to understand what we mean when we talk about the intensity and the familiarity that exists between coaches and players. So, you know, Xavier Johnson's a great example. I mean, we talked a lot about the things that make him successful, and yet, you know, he was very successful. You know, and I look back, that's something we have to do a better job of pointing out to Lowry, to Keanu, and Chance a little bit. Let's review some of the things we could have maybe done a better job of defending him so that the next time we run up against a style like that they're more prepared.
Do you believe in freshmen hitting walls? I mean, you've had a number of the last years and they're gone.
Yeah, no, not anymore. Not anymore because those guys are wired differently, and they have different expectations. They have such a bigger role now than before that they may have more peaks and valleys. You know, Kobe's a great example. If you would have watched Kobe against Cal and Stanford, first 4-6 minutes of the second half against Cal, he was unstoppable. He was a big reason we won. Think about the first game that he played, regular season game against Michigan State, where if he didn't play the way he played, I think he had 18 at the half. You have 18 points at the half? At the half. So, I mean, Kobe is a big reason why our team has the record that we have right now. But the last 2 games really haven't been his best. But that's the valley that he's in, and he can climb out of it. We have to help him climb out of it. You know, those are the peaks and valleys of a young, talented player. You feel it more when they're in a big role, a key role. Kobe plays 30 minutes a game, he starts. Even Stanley Johnson. Stanley had plenty of valleys in his freshman year, but they were really masked because he had older players in a team that, you know, you're up 16 points when he's in his bad game mode. Instead of, if he has that mode, the game goes from 10-0, like you've witnessed. So we're guarding against. We don't want to continue that where I don't want to say blow a lead, but kind of make a few miscues to allow a team back in. But, that's our team right now, and we have to work to improve that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was sort of following up on that. How would you describe Raleigh along those lines? And is he more level, do you think, or how would you?
Raleigh's really consistent right now. In the last game against Colorado, something that he's done really well, rebounding was taken away from him. And I guarantee you that if you were on Colorado's side, that was a big emphasis. Raleigh's not a freshman mystery anymore. They know what he can do. He's proved what he can do, and they're going to make sure that they try to block him out, because him getting 2, 3, 4 offensive rebounds really makes our team better. And conversely, having a player attack the glass like King did was something new for Raleigh. And we've talked a lot about blocking out. Raleigh really hasn't had to block out a whole lot in his life when you consider how big and strong he is. But in that game, he missed a few because, again, he didn't understand, in my mind, how talented, how strong physically some of Colorado's players were. And you know what? Their second shots hurt us. But that's up to us to coach Raleigh, make him more aware of it, make sure he's more prepared and improve so that doesn't happen moving down the road. But that's the challenge of coaching our team, that each game, each week, there are things that we're trying to fix and improve.
Would you say, overall, big picture, Raleigh, how would you describe, how it's been the deal with how his progression's gone?
Raleigh's been as consistent of a freshman as we've ever had. It starts off the court by how he approaches school, how he approaches being on time, what he's like, when he doesn't play well, what he's like in the early season workouts versus now. He's the same. He almost has a gift where even his expression during the game, he really is even keel, and it's fueled by his love of the game. I haven't been around a player who loves it more than him. He really wants to be great, and he puts the work in, and he's really, in a way, I don't want to say been a pleasant surprise, but just how easy he is to deal with has been something that's really fun to have as part of your team.
Along those lines, since you've talked about those two, talk about Laurie and how he's done, because he's been great highs and just kind of steady as well.
Laurie's a terrific player. That's easily understood. Learning how to manage his fouls is next up for him, and we have to help him with that as well. He's trying hard to be a better defender, so he makes harder plays around the rim, on the ball, tries to draw charges. But there's a time and a place, depending on how many fouls you have, to do those types of things. And, the other team's trying to put fouls on him as well. And if you have an older, experienced player like a Xavier Johnson, you really have somebody who can do that. So they're challenging Lowry on post-ups and drives, and I think he's way, way more able than a lot of people realize at 7 feet tall, mobility-wise, to be in the right spot. But I think that's the one thing that's taken away from some of his highs is foul trouble. He had 22 points in 22 minutes the other day. If he played 30 minutes against Colorado, he might have had 30 points. But he took that away. The fouls hurt him. So, but he'll get better. You think about Dusan, it took him almost 2.5 years to really just be more in the right place more often. Lowry's only been here for half a season. So, but we're working on that with him, and he's improving.
For as much as it matters, do you want to get Parker back into the starting lineup?
That could happen here soon. I'm more concerned about minutes. Parker played more minutes against Utah and Colorado than he played against Cal and Stanford. Looking at him playing those minutes, he was more able to play those minutes. He's not at risk to get injured, but like I talked about, the conditioning element and him not being 100%, you want him to just make sure that he's effective and that you have his best interest. It's kind of like ramping him up, being smart with that. So as we get to ASU, as long as the next 3 days go by smoothly, I think that'll be the healthiest that Parker's been in 6 weeks period of time since his injury. So with that, he's capable of playing more. He's playing really good. And there's certainly a chance that we could put him back in the lineup. I don't think about that as much as maybe, the fans and the players, because I know that's important who starts. But, the quality minutes are more important for us.
Sean, you downplayed rivalry games recently, talking about ASU, UCLA. Was there a time maybe earlier in your coaching career when you allowed yourself to get more into it in terms of that regard, the rivalry game?
Yeah, I mean, that's being like the young coach who's dumb versus the older coach who's a lot smarter because I say this every year. Rivalries in college basketball are much different than college football. College football, they play, that one game a week, sometimes 2 weeks in between. And they have a season of about 12 games. We have a season of 35 games, and many times the rivalry that you're bringing up, you could play them 3 times in a year, home and away. So being able to manage that, because the second you put too much emphasis on a moment, you have to realize that, just if there's less emphasis than on another moment, then you must not think that game's as important. And believe me, the players on our team sense that. It's important for us that we are the same, that we take every game serious, and that we try to play with equal effort. And our players know that playing a conference game is important. Playing ASU is very important. But, we respect ASU. They have a good coach. They have really good players. They've played a very difficult non-conference schedule. That's to their credit. I don't think their record is indicative of the quality of their team because they took on a couple losses that a lot of us would have if you tried to play the games that they played. I mean, you play Kentucky right now on a neutral court. That's a tough task for everybody. And so they've played a challenging non-conference schedule. They have a lot of quality on their team. They have a style that, man, they can score in bunches. They may be one of the best offensive teams we've played all season. They shoot the three-point shot better than any team we've played, more often than any team we played. That in and of itself scares every coach that plays them, I guarantee you. And we respect their team a great deal. So, I don't look at the challenge of getting ready for them any more or less than the challenge getting ready for Utah or Colorado. I mean, getting ready for Utah's a really good team, and they're getting better because of the pieces they've added. So, ASU is going to be a tough task on Thursday. So, believe me, we're ready, trying to get ready for it. But the emotion of it, and we hope we have a great crowd against McHale. Heck, I hope we have a great crowd against McHale when we play Washington. It's no different. So that's why.
Yeah, one other thing about the 3 freshmen, it seems to be relatively, as far as recruiting them, you had a little less time maybe than some of the guys getting to know them. Like, Kobe and Raleigh came in the spring. Lowry seemed like you jumped on him before his senior year. But I didn't know if that made any difference, and as a result, has there been anything that's really come out of this half season you have so far that maybe surprised you one way or another?
No, you're right, though. We jumped on, in terms of our efforts, maybe on the later stage. Those guys, 2 of them signed late, which a lot of our guys have signed early. But each year is different. I mean, every team's different. But the 3 freshmen that you guys talk a lot about, Lowry, Kobe, and Raleigh, if you just look at their production on a team and the record that we have or the quality that we've played through, the games we've played 17 games now. I mean, there's very few teams in college basketball that have 3 better freshmen playing. UCLA has a great class, and those guys, they deserve all the recognition that they get because, they have a chance to be a national champion this year, and they're great players. But on our side of the ledger, the impact that those 3 have had, there are top 3 leading scorers. It's one thing to do that for a stretch of games. Now that we're through 17 games and they're still our top 3 scorers, shows you the importance that they've had to this year's team. Where we would be without them, I don't even want to think about.
Coach, over the years, AAU basketball has gotten more and more popular. It's kind of de-emphasized high school basketball to a degree. What are your thoughts on that, particularly, especially with your dad being who he is?
That's the perception. Everybody's different. If you play at modern day high school, trust me, that's really important. Their staff, their school, their coach. They have the most state championships in California history. So if you're part of that program, you're not going to be able to make that statement and say travel team basketball is more important. Every high school coach is different. Every school you attend is different. I still think that high school basketball is the core of the development of a young kid. My sons play high school basketball. It's they go to school, they practice, they're playing for their school, they're playing to win. They learn a lot of things there. And then, I think when you're really fortunate is when you have both, a good high school coach, good high school program, and then, to your point, travel team basketball is important. It's essential to your development. So I think having these young guys who have both good and have the opportunity to play both in the off season and during the season, I think those are the ones who really can become the best they can be. It's a shame sometimes when they only have one, but in those cases, some of those kids are really fortunate they have the AAU, the travel team scene, because it gives them something that maybe they wouldn't have if they just depended on their high school environment or their coach, et cetera. So, and vice versa. If you don't have the opportunity to have a great travel team, AAU experience, then you get your fingers crossed that your high school and your high school coach are really good. So every situation is different. It's not just the way anymore.